AI.
AI is something we often hear about, from big names such as ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini, to smaller names such as Stability. Generative AI seems to be everywhere. It's in mathematics, it's in sciences, and slowly it's beginning to encroach the arts. You can go anywhere online and type in any artist such as Van Gogh, Andy Warhol, or any sort of digital artist, as long as you can copy and paste their work into the prompter, and it'll give you a crude recreation of their result. Overall, this is a form of stealing. It uses these models, the data that it's taking in as a way to train its models, and then spits out a crude reimagining of what the prompter wants. And all this does is create a sort of competition that artists will have to fight against generative AI due to its increasing demands. In this interview, we've talked to 3 different artists from 3 different fields. Each of them gave a brief overview of what type of art they did, and if they had any sort of opinions on generative AI. I've asked them questions regarding the Anderson versus Stability case, a court case that essentially showed the lack of protections against artists and versus generative AI, and whether or not they had opinions on those who used it in the future. At the end of the interview, we'll go ahead and have an interview with an LLM, specifically ChatGPT, to see if maybe it can give us some sort of way on how it supports itself, but also if it can refute the claims that people are making. My name is Shading Green, and I am against AI. Would you consider yourself an artist?
Depending on what you mean, I'd say yes.
What is your definition of what an artist is?
I think anyone who makes anything, because art is something that's made. So I think if you make music, or if you make make art, make poetry, those are different forms of art, but you're still making something. So I'd say because I write that I'm an artist.
Yeah, I think for the longest time, I always thought of what I did more as craft, but I do still think there is like an art to craft.
Would you consider yourself an artist?
Yes.
Do you know about the Anderson versus Stability court case?
No.
No, I do not.
What do you think this court case could mean for artists?
I think it could mean that there's gonna be more and more artists whose works are being just straight up stolen, and they have no way of knowing that it's being stolen, and no way of fighting against it being stolen. Like this is just one case out of because pretty much all generative art that makes images is building off of images that people have just uploaded because that was the work they did that they were sharing. So there's got to be so many artists out there whose works are being stolen without them knowing, or without them having a chance to even try to find it.
I don't like the precedent it sets because the way I see it, especially when we're in a society where you have to make money, a lot of people, for them, art is a job, and this is taking away work that they could be making money off of if people were willing to pay for it.
I mean, I think that diminishes the quality of a professional artist. I think the way that most professional artists, at least in the music field, they make their name by working on certain projects and creating works that become popular alongside other artists, like in film or something like that. And so if you take a similar artist's work and you just replicate it and make something very similar but not created by them, then you're essentially just creating a replica of their music and diminishing their value of being professional, and diminishing all of the hard work and all of the experience they have and all their studies, because you're just duplicating something exactly the same, just like that.
Do you believe that generative AI art infringes upon you as an artist?
For music-wise and composing-wise, AI hasn't gotten very far, and there have been lots of examples that if you give AI a prompt to try and compose music and create its own, it's not very good. So at the moment, music is fairly safe.
Yeah, I think definitely so. Even not talking about AI specifically, but just in general, when you're a smaller artist posting your work online, there's always people who are gonna take your art and like pass it off on their own. And I think AI just makes that even worse of a problem, because now it's not only your work that's being stolen and then passed off to somebody else's, but it's like you and like thousands of other people who are like either making no money off of the work or making very little money off of the work, and now there's these like huge companies that are like taking the work that you put like your soul and your heart into and just like jumbling it up into this completely different thing while you get like no recognition whatsoever.
It actually does, surprisingly. We mainly talk about like visual forms of art, but like if we're talking about writing, which is like something I do in my free time, but also like as a journalist major, there are like these are like the tangible facts that we have to discuss, because there are a lot of journalist jobs that are just not there anymore. Not just entry-level jobs, but even like higher up in a lot of these publications, because they're instead outsourcing that work to AI.
What are some key things that you wish for those who are using generative AI art in specifically the fields of arts and humanities to know?
I would hope that they would stop using it, but I know that's saying people shouldn't use generative AI is only going to go so far. But I think they should just learn about the damage that it does, not only to artists and creatives who are like putting the work out there and having it stolen, but also just like the environmental impact that AI usage has, and the way the data centers just like use water like it's nobody's business. So I would hope that after considering that they would stop using it, but I know that that's wishful thinking.
I mean, I think it's all about your intentions and how you do certain things. So if you use something and you create a very big broad artwork and you just slap your name on there and say, here's what I made, then I think that's unfair to other artists who spend hours and hours of working on something. But if you're using it truly to help you and assist you create your own artwork and something from your own creativity, then I think that it's just a helpful tool.
This is going to sound like really random. I think the truth is important, and I think AI is a form of like diluting and obscuring what is true, what is reality. I think recently, as we're seeing sort of in our specific society, reality crumbling and unraveling, we need to have something to hold on to. We need to be able to know what's real and what isn't, and AI really obscures that. As much as it is obviously taking things from other people, it's also like taking away everyone else's, like the entire society's, what I believe, right to the truth and what is true and what reality is. And so I think the moment you give that up, the moment you're like losing something very like important.
After prompting ChatGPT for answers, these are the answers it responded with. To the first question of should generative AI be in the field of the creative arts, it replied, generative AI should be in the creative field of arts because it expands the tools available to artists and encourages experimentation and supports new forms of expression. Throughout history, technologies such as photography, digital innovation were met with skepticism, yet each one strengthened the artistic practice. Generative AI follows the same pattern. For the second question, would you consider ChatGPT an artist? It said, when asked ChatGPT whether an artist or not, the answer is no. ChatGPT can generate ideas and creative structures, but it does not possess intention, emotion, or lived experiences. These qualities define artistic authorship. ChatGPT should be viewed as a tool to help artists rather than human creators. Question 3. Does ChatGPT know about the Anderson versus Stability court case? It answered yes. It is aware of this court case. It has examined whether AI models were copying copyrighted images from their training data. Number 4. What does this court case mean for artists and generative AI? The court case found no evidence that these models stored or reproduced specific artworks. Instead, they learn patterns, shapes, and relationships, similar to how humans internalize influences. Stylistic resemblance is not the same as duplication. This ruling affirms that generative AI functions through abstraction, not copying. The fifth question was, is generative AI infringing upon artists? It said, for artists, this decision-making means generative AI can be integrated into creative workflows without automatically violating copyright. The technology does not inherently infringe upon creators. Infringement requires intentional copying of a protected work. AI outputs are all from statistical learning, not replication. And ethical use keeps artists' rights protected. And lastly, number 6. Generative AI is not inherently infringing upon artists. It only becomes harmful if someone uses it irresponsibly. With proper guidance, transparency, and contribution, AI can coexist with traditional artistic methods. That was his rebuttal.